We're about to take a deep dive into 7 habits that surprisingly reshaped my life in a single week. Yes, I know, a week seems incredibly short for such a transformation, but trust me, this isn't just another list of typical life tips you hear all over the internet. These habits are raw, honest, and personal. They're the ones I've put to the test myself, and it wasn't always easy. There were struggles, a few breakthroughs, and even some triumphs along the way. The difference these habits made was honestly remarkable, and I can't wait to walk you through them because I truly believe they can have a profound effect on your life too. Whether you're looking to ramp up your productivity, boost your mental health, or bring a refreshing change into your daily life, these habits are here to help you on your way. So, make yourself comfortable, grab a coffee, and let's dive in. I promise you'll want to stay tuned, because these habits are actionable, practical steps that you can start implementing right away. I'll also share some personal moments and insights from my journey, giving you a raw, first-hand view of how these changes impacted me. So, without further delay, let's get right to it. The first game-changing habit was waking up early. I'll be real with you, I was never someone who jumped out of bed at dawn, ready to seize the day. I was much more inclined to hit the snooze button, clinging to every last second in bed. Mornings were a blur of rushed chaos, leaving me feeling like I was always playing catch-up. But then, I decided to give early mornings a genuine shot. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., and let me tell you, the first few days were a struggle. I dragged myself out of bed, groggy and questioning if this was really worth it. But by the 3rd day, something began to shift. I started noticing the peaceful stillness of those early hours, the quietness that felt almost magical as the world slept. The extra time in the morning opened up space for things I'd always wished I had time for. I'd do a bit of light exercise, something gentle like stretching or a short jog, which woke me up and gave me a little energy boost for the rest of the day. I also used this time to meditate and set my intentions. Just a few moments of mindfulness did wonders for my outlook and productivity. A surprising benefit of waking up early was how unrushed I felt. I could savor breakfast, sip my coffee leisurely, and lay out my plan for the day. This unrushed start gave me a sense of control and calm that lasted all day. I'll never forget the morning I took a moment to watch the sunrise. As the sky shifted colors and the day began, a wave of gratitude washed over me. Waking up early isn't just about having more time. It's about creating a more intentional, mindful start to your day. Even if you're not a natural morning person, I'd recommend trying it for a week. Start with 15 minutes earlier and see how it feels. You might just find it has a bigger impact than you expect. The next transformative habit was daily exercise. I wasn't one of those people who naturally loved working out. In fact, I'd come up with every excuse to avoid it. I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. You name it, I've said it. But I decided to commit to just 20 minutes of movement every day for 1 week, mixing in yoga, jogging, and some strength training. I wanted to keep it interesting so I wouldn't get bored or tempted to quit. The first days were tough. My muscles were sore, and I felt drained. But then, by the 4th day, I started noticing a difference. I felt lighter, more energetic, and my mood improved. I became less irritable and felt more positive. Those 20 minutes weren't just about fitness. They were time I dedicated to myself, to let go of stress and lift my spirits. One of my favorite memories from that week was a morning jog on a cool, crisp day. Just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That sense of freedom was invigorating, and yes, I started to see physical changes too. I felt stronger, my posture improved, and my energy levels increased. But the biggest shift was in my mindset. Exercise had become a way of caring for myself, not just a task to check off the list. I also gave yoga a try, something I'd always hesitated to do, thinking it wouldn't be challenging enough. But to my surprise, it was transformative. Yoga helped me become more present, breathe deeply, and connect with my body. Adding daily exercise into my routine made me realize that caring for my body has a direct effect on my happiness and mental clarity. So if you're hesitant, like I was, start small. Find something you enjoy and commit to a few minutes a day. It doesn't have to be perfect or extreme. Just regular movement can work wonders. The third life-changing habit was journaling. I used to think that journaling was reserved for people with tons of free time or a natural tendency for introspection. I doubted whether it could actually bring any real benefits, but after a week of nightly journaling, I was proven wrong. It was the start of a journey toward understanding myself more deeply. I kept it simple, just 10 minutes each night with a notebook and pen, no pressure for perfection or deep thoughts. I'd start with basic things, like how my day went or what I found challenging. Gradually, I opened up more, reflecting on my goals, fears, dreams, and insecurities. One night, after a particularly stressful day, I wrote down everything that was bothering me. Putting it into words helped me gain a fresh perspective, and it became easier to manage my emotions. That night marked a turning point. I realized that journaling was like having a conversation with myself, helping me process thoughts I'd often ignore. Another powerful aspect was tracking progress. Each small victory I documented, even minor ones, filled me with pride and pushed me to keep going. One of my entries was about a big work presentation I was nervous about. Writing down my prep process and how well it went reminded me of my growth and boosted my confidence. I also added a gratitude section to my journaling. Each day, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for, which shifted my mindset to focus on what I had rather than what I lacked. One particularly touching entry was about a small act of kindness from a stranger, helping me with my groceries. Reflecting on this moment made me feel more connected to people and inspired me to spread kindness as well. Journaling showed me that it's okay to feel a range of emotions and gave me a safe space to be open and honest. If you've never tried it, I encourage you to start without overthinking it. Just write whatever comes to mind, whether it's your day's events or some random reflections. This habit became a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth, and it brought a lot of peace and clarity into my life. Next up, mindful eating. Like a lot of people, I used to eat while distracted, scrolling on my phone or typing away on my laptop. I rarely paid attention to what I was eating or how much, and meals became just another rushed part of my day. But I decided to commit to mindful eating for 1 week. It meant giving my meals my full attention, savoring each bite and appreciating the flavors and textures. So I started a small ritual. I'd set a nice place at the table, removed all distractions, and took a few deep breaths before each meal. It felt odd at first, sitting quietly with my food, but soon enough it became calming and enjoyable. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed the food. Dishes I'd eaten countless times suddenly had new flavors and textures I'd never appreciated. Crunchy vegetables, sweet fruits, everything seemed more vibrant. By slowing down, I also began to recognize when I was full, which was new for me since I used to eat quickly and often overindulged. This slower, more mindful approach helped me naturally eat less and feel more satisfied. One memory that stands out was a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally I'd finish it in minutes without much thought, but this time I savored every spoonful. The creamy oats, the sweetness of the honey. Everything tasted better when I took the time to appreciate it. Mindful eating also made me more aware of how different foods made me feel. Processed snacks left me feeling sluggish, while fresh, whole foods made me feel energized. It wasn't about restriction, I was simply more in tune with what my body needed and craved. Another big realization came when I noticed that I was sometimes eating for comfort rather than hunger. Recognizing this pattern helped me make a small but powerful change, addressing my feelings instead of mindlessly reaching for food. One night, instead of grabbing a snack out of habit, I opted for a warm cup of tea and found that it satisfied me just as much. If you're interested in mindful eating, start by dedicating one meal a day to it. Sit down without any distractions, take a few breaths, and truly enjoy each bite. This small practice transformed my relationship with food, helping me appreciate and truly nourish my body. The fifth habit, limiting screen time, was probably the hardest for me. It's so easy to get caught up in endless scrolling, binge-watching and checking notifications, but I realized that all this screen time was taking a toll on my productivity, mental health, and even my sleep. So, I set a daily limit of just 1 hour for non-work screen time. No aimless scrolling, no YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV. It was a challenge. I hadn't realized how much time I was actually spending in front of screens. But once I started, I found myself with so much extra time each day. With those freed-up hours, I rediscovered some hobbies I'd neglected. I picked up a book, started doodling again, and even tried out a new recipe. One evening, instead of watching TV, I went for a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze, it was so refreshing and felt much more fulfilling than another episode. That walk quickly became something I looked forward to and a cherished part of my day. I also noticed an improvement in my sleep. Without my phone in bed, I could unwind and relax more easily, leading to a deeper and more restful night's sleep. I created a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens, reading a physical book, meditating, or just reflecting on my day. Reducing screen time didn't just help my sleep, it also lifted a mental fog I hadn't realized was there. I was less anxious, more present, and genuinely engaged with the world around me. On one memorable afternoon, I took a break from screens entirely and went to a cozy cafe with just a notebook and pen. I spent hours writing down thoughts, sketching, and planning some goals. Free from digital interruptions, I felt a level of peace and productivity I hadn't experienced in ages. The connection I felt with myself and the world around me was so fulfilling. Of course, I did have moments where I felt tempted to grab my phone, especially out of habit. But every time I resisted, it was a gentle reminder of the benefits I was experiencing. Limiting screen time isn't about eliminating technology altogether. It's about creating a healthier balance. If you feel overwhelmed by constant digital noise, try setting some boundaries. Start with an hour less each day and fill that extra time with something that brings you joy or peace. You might be surprised at how much richer life feels when you're more engaged with the world around you. Moving on to the sixth habit, which was decluttering. This one made a surprising difference in my mental clarity and overall sense of calm. My space had gradually become filled with things I didn't really need: old papers, clothes I never wore, random knickknacks. They didn't seem like much individually, but together they created a kind of mental weight I hadn't recognized. I decided to spend just a little time each day tackling specific areas, whether it was my desk, my closet, or even just a drawer. At first, it was overwhelming to confront the mess, but I took it slowly, focusing on one area at a time. As I started letting go of items, it felt surprisingly liberating. I noticed how much lighter I felt with each unnecessary item I removed. Decluttering wasn't just about clearing physical space, it was like clearing mental space as well. One of the most satisfying moments was tackling my workspace. I'd accumulated piles of papers and random objects that had no real purpose. But after organizing and keeping only the essentials, I found it so much easier to focus. My mind felt clearer, and I was more productive. One memorable day, I tackled my wardrobe. I tried on each item, keeping only what I loved and felt comfortable in. By the end, I had a smaller, more intentional selection of clothes that I actually enjoyed wearing. It made getting dressed each morning simpler and more enjoyable, without the endless decision-making over clothes I didn't even like. Decluttering also taught me something about my attachment to stuff. I had been holding on to things just in case, or because they held some nostalgic value. But I realized that my memories and experiences were not tied to those objects. Letting them go didn't mean letting go of the past. It was just making room for new, meaningful experiences. This habit of decluttering extended beyond my physical space. I started re-evaluating other areas of my life too, like my schedule. I identified commitments and activities that didn't serve me or bring me joy, and I started saying no more often. It was freeing to have more time and energy for things that genuinely mattered. If you're feeling weighed down by clutter, try focusing on one small area at a time, even if it's just your desk or a drawer. It's amazing how much clarity and peace it can bring, even if you're just starting small. Decluttering isn't just about creating a tidy space. It's about creating a space that aligns with who you are and supports your well-being. Finally, the seventh habit was practicing gratitude. I know this may sound cliché, but gratitude had an incredibly profound impact on my outlook. I started each day by writing down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it was difficult. I felt like I was just going through the motions, listing obvious things like my family, health, or job. But as the days went on, I began noticing smaller details that I would have otherwise overlooked, like the warmth of sunlight in the morning, or a friendly smile from a stranger. One of the most memorable moments was during a rainy day when I typically would have felt down. But instead, I found myself appreciating the sound of raindrops, the way the world looked washed and fresh, and the coziness of being indoors. Focusing on gratitude shifted my perspective. I became more present, finding joy in the simple, often overlooked parts of life. It wasn't about denying challenges or frustrations, but about balancing them with moments of appreciation. Gratitude also changed the way I interacted with others. I became more mindful of expressing appreciation to people around me, whether it was a thank you note or a simple compliment. I noticed that the more I practiced gratitude, the more kindness and positivity I attracted in return. This habit was a beautiful reminder of how much there is to appreciate, even on difficult days. By ending my days with gratitude, I found myself sleeping better, feeling a sense of peace and contentment that I hadn't experienced before. One unexpected outcome of my gratitude practice was that it changed my approach to challenges. Instead of seeing setbacks as obstacles, I began seeing them as opportunities for growth. This wasn't an instant change, but over time I felt a greater sense of resilience. I became more patient, more accepting of life's ups and downs, and more willing to learn from whatever came my way. Incorporating gratitude into your life doesn't have to be complicated. Start with something simple. Just list a few things you're grateful for each morning or night. Allow yourself to savor these moments of appreciation. Over time, you'll likely find yourself noticing more beauty in your everyday life, and it will subtly shift your entire perspective. And there you have it, 7 habits that transformed my life in a single week. Waking up early, exercising daily, journaling, eating mindfully, limiting screen time, decluttering, and practicing gratitude. These habits didn't require any expensive tools or drastic lifestyle changes. They were small, manageable actions that added up to create a meaningful transformation. If any of these habits resonate with you, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, even if it's just one habit. You don't need to do everything at once. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's about progress and making small, positive changes that fit into your life. You'll likely find that these small shifts begin to compound, bringing a greater sense of well-being and fulfillment. I'd love to hear from you about which habits you're thinking of adopting or any experiences you've had with similar changes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Every small step you take is part of a larger path of growth, and there's an entire community here cheering you on. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think might benefit. Let's keep growing, keep improving, and keep creating lives that bring us joy and fulfillment. Until next time, stay awesome.